Kia ora everyone and welcome back to another episode. We are sitting here with my friend
Tammy Bezuidenhoudt.
and we really hope you enjoy this one. What the heck's been going on? Honestly, this has taken so long to get you in here.
About time.
It is
about
about
bloody
time.
time. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, obviously you got a lot of things taking up your time.
Booked and busy, apparently.
Are you booked and busy?
Apparently.
Are you one of those people who are booked and busy properly, or do you think you just like always say you're busy but you'd rather just do other stuff?
I think it's that one.
Wait, so
I
like
take up my own time. People don't take up my time. I take up my own time.
I think that's important though.
Yeah. I go to my own way to be booked and busy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so like you'd happily say like you had a whole day and say you only had like 3 scheduled meetings, you would rather just say nah, but the rest of the day's out.
It's mine.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and I do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you always been like that though?
No, I think I've slowly grown into it. It makes me happy,
Yeah.
though. Otherwise I get agitated if
Yeah.
I'm sitting still.
Yeah.
Yeah, being postgrad is like quiet, but I make it busy for myself.
I think it's a proper maturity thing, like when you get into
You
that.
think?
Yeah, I do. Because I know a lot of people, I think when I was younger, to try to be busy all the time was like my goal.
Yeah.
But now that was like busy doing, like saying yes to a whole bunch of other things
Yeah.
rather than just like busy being content with what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm at that place now. I felt like I was the same thing, trying to be busy with other regards in terms of providing services for other people. But now it's like, no, thank you. I will be independent and
Yeah.
make myself busy.
Was there a turning point that made you like think, nah, that's how I'm meant to be? Or because I remember for me, it was just like I literally burnt out. Like I think I ended up in hospital. Like a whole bunch of bad things went on. And I was just like, sheesh, actually,
Yeah.
I am not Superman.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. I don't think there's a turning point. I think maybe I was just unhappy for a long time. House I started that, I think, classes 9 till 5. But it wasn't making me happy because it was like scheduled and not how I wanted it to be.
Right.
I wasn't having any like extracurricular fun, no personal downtime. But now I make that part of my day.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what's the main things that you do to like kind of make sure that your day is kind of like that's for you, your things? What are your things?
So weekly, I am with Otago Dance Association. So that's like my pride and joy right now. That's my baby. So I'm the hip hop manager in that. I coach 14 girls and I teach for the club. So moving, dancing is part of it, and just gymming.
Yeah.
Being at Unipole, good old Unipole.
Yeah. So as like the hip hop, so we'll just go back to that. So as hip hop manager, so there's a few things that I'll pick out of that. But like, are you in charge of like, so when you say coaching, is that choreo as well, or you're just
Yes,
like,
sir.
so? Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
So you have to be super creative.
Yeah, I love that, and it's pushing me a lot. It started just me taking ODA classes every Monday, 7 till 9 at T Cole.
Yeah.
Taking those classes, and I pushed myself. There was a choreographer's workshop,
Right.
and I loved how the choreographers taught, and it made me at peace. I was like, Tammy, just push yourself and do it. So I think as well, dancing with my sister over the holidays, she's a little groovy one, that one. Seeing how much she enjoyed dance and being taught, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to provide joy for people.
Right.
So yeah, I'm choreographing at the moment for a dance competition we have in Invercargill in July. So it's stressing me out, but it's fun. It's making my creative juices flow.
That's really, really cool. And how long have you been like, so since that workshop, when was that workshop?
That was last year.
Really? So it's only been like a very short amount of time that you've been
It feels
taking the
long.
reins. Oh yeah, of course.
Feels long, but yeah, short enough. But I am like, well, not well known, I say, but people enjoy my classes because I make it fun. So that also boosted my confidence. But like, hey, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
People are loving my classes. I'm getting really great feedback. So take the reins and go.
Yeah. And all the people that are coming through, like, do they come in expecting like to be very hip hop centered, or do they just come in as dancers to do more dance? Does that make sense?
I think it's because it's a university club, everyone just comes in expecting whatever they get.
Yeah, right.
No one's coming in with preconceived ideas, because everyone that we have as choreographers are not all of them have like a dance background, whereas I do. I've danced for a while. So the range that you get, you can have very advanced teachers, or you can literally have someone that doesn't know how to count 8 counts.
Right.
So yeah, it's whatever really.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's just one of those things. I mean, I guess that's where we have similar values as just that, like, we do anything just to keep people moving.
Yeah.
So, like, mine would just be, what is it that these people want to do so that they can move but have fun? But
Yeah.
we're not thinking about, like, oh, I have to go do a boot camp or anything like that. Like, they're actually coming to do something.
Yeah.
And you learn a skill out of it as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Because I just teach what... I'm quite biased, though, with what I teach.
Right.
Because I personally like to teach a style that makes me happy as a person. So people might not enjoy my choreo, but I make sure that I can provide options and, like, variation, so it's not feeling uncomfortable for them and they're not enjoying their time while they're in class. So I'm like, hey, the move is like this, but change it however you want.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So there's freedom in everything that you can do.
Way.
Right.
Way.
Yeah. But I think a big part of people enjoying something, though, is, like, if the person leading it actually enjoys themselves as well.
Yeah.
So if you're going in there teaching something that you don't even like, everyone's going to be like, she hates her time here. She must hate us, like, all that sort of stuff.
You should come to one of my classes. I'm the hypest person out.
Yeah.
Like, I can never keep still. If someone, they're not, it doesn't look like they're getting the moves, but they have a smile on their face. That makes me so bloody happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, proper energy.
Proper energy.
You're
That's
not
what
one of
I
those.
want.
Yeah, you're not one of those people who's like, this is how it's meant to be
No.
done. Yeah.
I'll give them a base move. The choreography is there, but freely do however makes you feel good.
Right.
Whatever makes you feel good.
Yeah. And
The base move is there,
Yeah.
but freely move within that move, if that makes sense.
But that kind of sounds like, so without reading into you too much, that kind of sounds like the theme of your entire life.
Do you reckon?
Right? Like, you have kind of set parameters on how things are meant to be, but, like, if you're not feeling free, you're not enjoying yourself. So let's just talk about all of that first, because that's kind of like, it's a freedom that you get once you understand that self, like, once you understand that part about yourself.
Yeah.
Is that you are only free when you do these sorts of things for yourself.
Like,
for me, that took me way too long. And I was unhappy for the longest time. And then once I got it, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like so simple.
Like a fresh breath of air.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
I think it's only happened to me, recently. In terms of relationship stuff.
Sure.
But, I've recently found freedom in myself, which is it's beautiful in a way. Fresh breath of air, but it's only just starting, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, because like, that's your essence, though. Like, I don't think that the essence is new. I think it's just that you're rediscovering that part about yourself, because you can even think, like, prior to anything, like when you were younger and your upbringing and all that sort of stuff, like, do you remember what type of person you were?
I think growing up, not in a strict household, but being the firstborn in a new country, like born in South Africa, moved here when I was 3. Mum was a 9 to 5 student. She's a dentist, so she's in the books, dad's the joker of the family, and then there's mum, she's the serious one, she's the academic. So I had that pushed on me quite a lot, and in terms of that created parameters for myself. In high school, it was always do your homework, in school, do your homework, and then dad was like, do sports, get into sports. So I could never find a balance in that regard. But once I got older, I got closer to mum, and she respected me and saw my freedom, which is cool. She could see that I was, like, itching to want to do more and not just be in the books. So once uni hit, it was kind of sucky, because, again, house side didn't allow me to do that. But now that I'm in postgrad, I'm by myself, I'm independent. I make my own calls, I make my own rules. There's no set classes. There's classes throughout the day, but I'm like, hey, it doesn't fit my master's project, so I'm not going to go sit in it. Yeah. So I'll do what I want.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it's one of those weird things where, you did health science first year, but until you probably reflect and you're like, okay, that took this away from me, so that took that aspect, but you don't actually realise how much of an impact it does have on you at the time? Yeah. Because you're too busy like, oh, fuck, I don't know what's going on
Drowning.
right now. Yeah, but then after it, now that you step back, you literally just did the reflection, then you're like, now I'm in postgrad. Yeah. I'm like looking back on it, just like, I didn't need to do that. So like, it's one of those things where it's quite bittersweet that you're just like, I'm so
I am
glad
grateful for it though.
Yeah.
Now.
Right.
Not while I was in it at all.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, it was hell. But I think it made me grow real strong. I just think it was. I am grateful in a way, because just seeing how I give props to people who could like master house high. I don't know what it is, determined people. But when I came into uni, I wanted to be physio. So at the end of the day, you have to do house high whether you like it or not to get into that program.
Very true.
And I guess I didn't like that part of it, as dumb as it is. I was like, no, I want to do subjects that I enjoy. So I was like, no, you have to do the physics, you have to do the chem, you have to do... I loved hubs because it was what I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that all the time.
Yeah.
But no, apparently I had to do physics and chem and cells. I don't like that. So that's where I guess I found the love for PE as well. I was like, wow, these courses are making me express myself and finding parts of myself I didn't even know about. Like I was all into the bio, the anatomy and stuff. And then I was introduced to psych and sociology and the history of sport and the politics of sport. And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
This is great. So that made me spread my wings too.
Yeah.
Finding different avenues that I didn't even know that I liked
for sure.
myself.
And do you think that if someone had told you earlier that that's what this course was like, you would have just like gone for it
I really would have.
Yeah.
Immediately. And it's kind of sucky that no one knows that it's there, that it's out there.
Yeah.
I got into PE thinking PE is, again, anatomy, biophysical sciences, social, not even social sciences, you know, all of that exercise science. And I was like, cool, that's like great. And then second year of PE, good old Ken Hodge was there.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to the psychology of sport. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is a job. Like, this is an avenue. It was great. And then Sally Shaw came along. Like the politics side of sport, and I was like, this is weird because no one told me about this. Yeah. So it was awesome. I think good old Sebastian had taught history, and I was like, this, I didn't even know these were out here. Like I genuinely would have not wasted 2 years in Halsey, and I would have come straight here. Yeah.
For sure. I think, it's something that I say on this podcast all the time, and everyone's going to hear it and hear it again. But what I always say is that when I did PE, I thought like at the end of it, you get given like a whistle, a tracksuit, and like a clipboard. But like that's the only thing people think you're going to end up with.
The amount of times they're like, oh, so you want to be a PE teacher? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But why was it that, so like even though you kind of had the sport, you kind of had the dance, all that sort of stuff, like that's the physical stuff. That's the stuff where you're just like, okay, PE lends itself well to that. And it kind of, when I talk about PE, people are like, oh, did you want to be a physio? I'm like, no, I never wanted to be a physio. But like, why was it not the physical side of things that kind of took your interest? Yeah.
Good question. I think because that's what I'm always used to. It was always there. I'm always a physical person. I love the exercise part of it. The body was always interesting to me. But then I think literally when I saw there's genuinely a different aspect to PE, it's not about the physical stuff. There's actually interesting underlying stuff that influence the physical side, the politics, the rules, how we bring up the social side of it. That was beautiful to me. I think it was something that needs to be seen more out there in the world, because PE is not all about being fit and like being an athlete. You know, there's people behind the screen that make athletes allowed like to play sport. Like women's sport is now being like really pushed because of the politics, the history, the underlying stuff, which I think is really interesting.
For sure.
And that's, I think it was I just think because I was always in dance, I was physical, so then the flip side of it, the underlying stuff that I didn't know about, that's why I grasped onto it. I was like, wow, this is something different.
Yeah, like this is the stuff that allows, let's say, like a person of colour, or this allows someone who's like a woman to be in this sort of space doing what they're doing. It's like the social justice aspect of being able to be physical.
Literally.
Right, so like the infrastructure behind everything.
That's what made me fall in love with what I'm doing today.
How good.
Yeah.
And why, so like we'll get into what you're actually studying soon, but like, why not the social side of something that you're already interested in? So like you could have gone down the dance thing and like tried to look at that, or do you like keeping it the hobby a hobby?
I think it's just a hobby. I think if I get too much into it, I might end up hating it and find it a job and tedious. I want to keep it for fresh for me and like something that I'm excited to do and not be like, ugh.
That you knock off at 5 p.m. and get to go do it, and that's like, oh, I'm not thinking about work anymore.
Thinking about work,
Fair enough.
So if I think about it 24/7, I'm like, oh, it becomes tedious. So I want to keep it the excitement part of my day. Yeah.
And the social justice side of things, so like, because it is true, like a lot of it, you come up with policy, you come up with different regulations so that people are allowed to play, and kind of all of the different restrictions that people have on themselves is because there was some sort of historical underlying root that maintained like a social hierarchy between people. So have you, now that you're doing what you're doing, noticed times in your past where you're like, frick, we literally made that a rule because we continued that on as like a held belief?
I don't think so in terms of my past. Genuinely, my past was quite sheltered and protected by a lot of things, especially my parents. I grew up in a small town, good old Whakatane, in the Bay of Plenty, so nothing there, I think, affected me in terms of that way, as sucky as it is. But I see it now, but it's not influencing me in any way, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you find that it's still, like, you still have a strong drive, though?
In terms of?
Because you know how some people say that they're like, I can't make a difference because I never got the struggle. But, like, I feel like...
Oh, that's so... it's not controversial for me, but I feel like it's such a touchy subject because I'm in that spot. Like, I'm that type of person that I think I have never been part of the struggle, so I don't want to voice it. I feel like I'm almost out of place. I don't have a voice to say
Interesting.
anything. I'm quite reserved in that kind of regard. I'll think it to myself, genuinely. But I feel like there's, as dumb as it is, but I feel like there's enough voices on my behalf to say what I want to say. But I'm quite reserved in that in that stuff.
But what about where you are, though? Because, like, sometimes the pool of the amount of people who, like, can get to where they are, and then they're almost in a privileged position to be able to voice that. Like, yeah, everyone can have a voice, but some people don't have the platforms to be able to voice what they're voicing. So, like, you could always... Yeah.
I mean, with my research, I could probably definitely...
100%, because we'll get there. And I think it's the difficult part right now is, like, are people doing things just for clout, or are people genuinely doing things because they want to make a difference?
To make a difference, yes, sir.
So, like, with you doing what you're doing, like, the fact that you had that sit back moment and just like, am I the right person to be doing this? Like, it's clear that you're not out there just being like, I could make a change. It's me.
That's not me.
Yeah.
I'm real, like, with all the movements that's happening now, I would rather have personal and deep conversations about someone enlightened, maybe have someone else enlighten me or I enlighten someone else face to face than doing it on a platform. Yeah. So to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Well, it's good. I think it's very essential that we have those reflections because I was the same. Like, there's been moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely the right person to say this, but I've never felt like I was the right person to say it just because I'm just like, you know, there's so many different people who shut you down really quickly and they're like, why are you saying that, blah, blah, blah. And everyone just tries to, like, jump on you. And I'm like, wait, we're fighting against each other. Why aren't we just helping each other?
Helping each other, yeah. I'm scared about the attack, to be honest.
Right.
That's why I just don't say anything. Yeah, like I said, I'll talk about it in person. I love having conversations rather than spreading the word online or on Facebook. You know, it's that just as a person, that's not me. Yeah.
But you can, I think there's quite a bit of impact you can have just by, like, those small things. Because if you change someone's perspective on something, and that person changes your perspective, you, like, live and interact differently throughout, like, from that moment on.
Right. Because, like, in terms of having bad conversations or people, like, hating on you or whatever, it's kind of like, in terms of, like, in the workplace, say if you were to give someone a service and then you do a bad job, bad stuff, the negative comments are going to spread like wildfire. But then if you do a really good job, they might send it to one person, but then that person will go, and then they'll go, and that person will go to 10 people, and then 15 people. So I think, in terms of like what I do as my research and stuff, in terms of sport and spreading the wrong thing, I'd rather have that one-on-one conversation and change their perspective, and they're like, oh. And they'll go sit down to someone else and be like, so Tammy, see this, I think she's right, or I think she has a really great viewpoint on it. And then they'll go and think, and they'll
nice. It just scatters.
And it
just goes different ways. But, like, I think the big one was, like, when you said if, like, someone did reply and they're just like, I think, like, that's where we need to get everyone.
Yep.
I think. You're critically, like,
keyword.
And rather than just be like, Tammy said this, it's right. Like, and then, like, we just stay there, and then, like, that's just spreading it without critically analysing what you had said.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, that's now that we're getting into, well, it's actually really cool that you're in postgrad. It's not, like, once you get to here, no one tells you what to do anymore. Like, you have to think for yourself. Yep. So let's just do this. Before going into postgrad, what was your first thought of like how the whole process was going to be?
In terms of postgrad?
Yeah. So like as a postgrad student, you're like coming in from undergrad into postgrad. What are like the main thoughts or themes of postgrad in your mind? Your preconceived idea. Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be this hard. No. I knew like being independent was going to be a big thing. So independent study, going out of your way to make sure you were studying and you're, you know, pulling your own weight instead of your lecturers telling you in a lecture, this is what you have to do, this is your assignment, this is how I want the assignment to be, go and do it. But I think as hard as it is, I'm really enjoying it. I think I have a really good supervisor who provides that support for me. I have a good support system back home, but now that I'm in it, I didn't think anything too bad of it, because in terms of preconceived ideas, I just wanted to have a good research topic that I will enjoy and not find hard work.
Right.
I wanted to make sure I had a topic that would make me happy and that I'm interested in. So the workload itself was not tedious or extremely hard.
Yeah. So it's coming back to that thing. It's like filling your time with something that you've chosen to do.
That I want to choose to do. Yep.
Because from here, what people don't understand is that you pretty much dedicate your entire life to one question. So that one question that you have, all the literature you're reading, if you do interviews, all your interviews that you're doing, the different people you talk to, all of the topics, all the conversations, they all lead to how is it that we can best or adequately answer the one question that you had from the beginning. Yep. So do you like have a question or do you have a theme as part of your masters?
So I have a question, search question anyway. So in terms of the topic itself, I'm looking at the COVID sport budget that was released May of last year from the Minister of Sport and Recreation. So that was 256 million post-COVID was being granted into sport.
Sure.
So my question is, where's that money going?
Right.
Who's getting what? How much? And like why? Why did sport literally get this amount of money? That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just searching where it's going.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to see where it's going.
No, I'm not criticizing it. I'm not analysing it. I'm not trying to get myself put in trouble, because it's sensitive in terms of politics.
Of course
it's very sensitive. So I'm genuinely just describing where the money has flowed and why, like what programs are being run. Maybe if like NSOs, the big guys get more than the little guys, but just purely descriptive.
Right.
Yep.
Sure. Okay. So it's purely descriptive. You're going to have no hypotheses as to why.
It's going to be it's going to be inductive. So the gist of like my data will be interviews. So then if there's recurring themes of, you know, a RST guy says something that Sport and Zeke says and it like matches, or if it's different. But I'm making sure that my interviews are first and then I will create my end hypothesis.
Sure. And because that budget is like something that is it's just over a year old, so it's very, very, very new data, so there's not really going to be much in terms of literature specifically on this budget. But was there any other time that there was like a large amount of money or summer money, or was there any researchers kind of looking at where like money is divvied to?
In terms of, so the term I use in my research is bailout, financial bailout. So bailouts is not new, it's been around for a while, but the biggest bailout that like the world would probably know about is when the US bank sector crashed in 2008.
Yeah, of course, right.
And that's it really. In terms of like a small institution as sport, that's like seen as a social thing, you know, it's a pastime. Why are we getting bailed out worth $256 million?
Yeah, right.
So why are we so special? Why is sport so special?
Yeah, do you want to make some people mad right now and talk about sport and how sport was created by our imagination?
Go on.
Do you know sport's not natural?
What?
Do you know?
Elaborate, please.
No, like it was created.
And
right. Like
how else?
As part of the natural order, we weren't born playing sport.
Yeah.
And so there was someone who came up with the idea to play sport.
Right.
And then from there, we've created an institution.
Smart. Yeah.
But like, no, what I'm trying. Sorry.
No, I get it.
No, but like, and that's where we're putting sport. That's where we're putting so much money
into.
So that's why so I jump on that first.
Yeah.
But then that's not even the big question. Isn't really that. Well, actually, it is a big question. Why so much going to sport? Because where one person gets, someone else misses out.
Yep.
And then within the sports that are getting it, there are going to be like large sums going to specific areas.
Because there are documents like released at the moment in terms of regions they have gotten thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. But what I'm looking like, I look at the PDFs and all I see is numbers. That's great. Rugby New Zealand can get so and so much, but within Rugby New Zealand, who gets what?
Sure.
Cool. Maybe Waikato gets more. But then at the end of the day, I can look at that lump sum of money and be like, yeah, that's great, but what are you doing with it and why? So that's where I'm excited in terms of doing interviews. Because genuinely, I have data. I see all that money going through and who's already gotten paid. But I'm just looking at numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are and why.
So you're putting a story or you're putting a narrative to... Yep. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm just putting the narrative to what that amount is for. Is it,
I don't know, is that, like money, anything financial and anything that big in terms of financial scales, like scares me.
Yep.
Like I can barely ask my flatmate if they haven't paid like the electricity, and now you're gonna go like, oh, so why'd you guys get like this amount of money? Like, what are you doing with this? Like, does that not kind of scare you a little bit?
Don't remind me.
Oh, sorry. Let's just pretend that didn't happen.
No, I am scared to go into these interviews. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm talking to big shots. I may be going to big people in Sports New Zealand. In terms of NSOs and RSTs, I don't know if I'm going to that extent, but so far I definitely know I'm going to Sports New Zealand itself. So I don't want to go in and not preconceive stuff, but ask the wrong question and just word something so wrong, and then they'll get angry because, like I said, it is sensitive till this day.
And we were talking about it before, and it's something that you can just remind everyone, but there's no real, you're not going in with any like lens, right?
No.
So everything that you're doing is just purely define
it.
Right.
Because it's so new. Maybe I can in years to come, but for now, no, because we're still in it. We're still freshly out of COVID. There's no need for it anyway. Sure.
Do you think it's going to be possible from your end if you like start doing more and more research, or if you were to have an interview and someone was talking about something, do you reckon they could sway you?
I'm thinking about that too in the back of my head, but I don't want to change my question or like the way I'm leaning, because for me the descriptive part I think is interesting as it is. Sure. And I think people whoever would like want to read it, I don't know, would be interested in it too, just knowing where they're literally where their money is going.
Of course. Yeah. So
I think.
Because I think that's a huge start to start with, because from there, it's a difficult thing with budgets, right? Is that if we don't even know where money's going to start with, we can't start making policy or we can't start making changes because we didn't know where it was going anyway. And like it gives you a baseline understanding of but also that sport is a big enough institution to get that much of that chunk of the pie.
I know. It's genuinely ridiculous, but I think it's great.
Right.
I think it's great.
Cool. So you're pro sport.
Pro sport. 100%.
Do you remember when did you go through sports sociology and all that, like advanced sociology for sport?
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Mark Falcon.
Yeah. And then like I did Steve Jackson's paper after that, so he's like, this is like the king of sports sociology. But anyway, I remember talking about it, and the more I learned about sport, the more I started to think like, oh, do I even like sport?
Right.
But like I still love playing sport. I love watching sport. Like I understand myself as the consumer within it all now. But I'm still like, gosh, there's so much going on. Like, and this is so unethical. All that sort of stuff. Yeah. Right. But I'm just like at the same time, I'm like, but I still love it.
I still want to do it.
Yeah.
I feel that way too.
Right.
Yeah. But I think, I guess in terms of just this subject itself in terms of COVID, because a pandemic is huge, it's new to everyone. I can go in with the lens in terms of what Mark has taught me and what Steve has taught us, but I'm just too scared to go that way. Genuinely.
Yeah. And if you do, I mean, maybe in the future you could do something that kind of keeps you a little bit more safe, but like you can start to make hypotheses about different things.
Exactly.
Because I mean, the sad thing about research and the sad thing about what we do a lot of the times is that because we're not these huge people with huge platforms, we'll never get clickbaited. Like no one will ever just be like, researcher says, because no one reads the research. It'll just be like this one guy who like does a tweet or something
and hate on us.
Yeah. And everyone gets on it.
No, but even that, I don't want to take the risk on that. I don't want that one guy to be like on my case about anything.
Yeah. But it's still like so right now you're in the middle of it all.
Yeah. Beginning, really.
Right, the beginning of it.
Proposing still.
Yeah.
So that will happen next month. I'm still finishing up the proposal itself. I'm just outlining how I'm going about doing things.
Yeah.
And then hopefully next semester I've got my things together and interviews will be underway. I've got my foot in the door with Sports New Zealand already. So it's just getting their names and contact, and then we're underway. Right. Getting info, the good stuff, the juicy stuff.
The good, the stuff that you've been writing about doing for the longest time. Yeah. And in terms of what you are doing, so you're going to do the descriptive analysis of all the stuff that you've already got. Yep. All your numbers. Mm-hmm. You're going to do a bit of like background reading. Yep. And what's already happened so far in terms of with like these media articles, stuff, or NZ Herald have said, Tiger Rugby has gotten this amount of money. Right. But it's like, what have you done with it program-wise? Right. Yeah. Do you community level-wise? What would you say is like the genuine narrative around... So far? Yeah, like the community's response to so much money being given to sport. It's been highly positive? It's been highly positive in terms of, because Sports New Zealand has almost flipped on its head. It's wanting to prioritise well-being and health. From when it went to Spark to Sport New Zealand, Yeah, so in terms of that, everyone has been like grateful for it, because millions are going into supporting like kids, in like low socioeconomical like communities, and being out like letting them be able to play sport, which is like amazing. But it's cool to see, because it's different from how Sports New Zealand has used to run. They're all about performance, the high performance end. Yeah. But it's still cool to see if they remain on that path, or they're like, nah, we want to focus on uplifting New Zealand genuinely instead of giving it to all the elites. Yeah, no, I remember that, because like with the path to podium and everything, like that was kind of everything that people focused on for the longest time. But now sport's not seen as, because I even PE changed from like focusing on sport to actually focusing on overall well-being. Yeah. When they brought Howard in, and I was like, how good. Let's go. Yeah, and I think it's stunning. It's how it should be in my eyes, because I don't care if New Zealand gets 20 gold medals at the Olympics, like cool. For sure. Like it's not got to do anything with me. Yeah. Yeah. That was always like my one thing about like different sports and people who got treated like as an athlete, and you get treated like the world just kind of sets up for you. And I'm like, what have you done to contribute to anything like good? Other than yourself. So we're probably going to get cancelled now, but like it's always been my thing. It's like, okay, I throw a ball. Like, I catch a ball, I run it, I put it down over the line, and now I'm treated like I'm the greatest person to ever live. But it's like, why? Like, you've been given all these resources to be able to be good at what you're doing. Like, you haven't had to go and contribute anywhere else besides contractual obligations to do different things. So it's just like, but if we focus on like everyone else, like everyone's got to live well. Yep. And hopefully, if people are living better, the rest of New Zealand gets better as well. Maybe. Yeah. So that's what we're hoping to see these rescue packages do. Right. So that what they named them? Well, one is called a recovery, and then one is called a relief. There's two big ones. Yeah. So the application process, like there was an application process, right? So I'm looking at that too in terms of what the criteria is. Why you get funded and why you don't. Right. So the relief package was the first one to be released, and that was worth 25 mil. So that was immediate to short-term relief, and then I think that's finished now, and now we're into the recovery package, and that's a 256 mil. Right. That's undergoing. Yeah, that's over a 4-year period. Right. Yep. Oh man, when I think about all the budgets and stuff that come together, all I think about is like proposals to apply for money. Gosh, because that's like my life right now is based on how much I can apply for, how well I can write grant applications and all that. And then they're like, yeah, we'll release the money to you. You're like, yay. But then like you don't get it and you're like, no, I got to write again. Oh my gosh, and you just go crazy. Through. But that's life. That's life. That really is. I've never done anything like that. Well, you will soon. Yeah. Yep. So in terms of disseminating what you're doing, like you're going to propose a thesis, or you're going to do a thesis really. Yeah. And then your audiences to be able to like give to different people, who do you think this will impact the most? Or like who do you think will read this and be like, that's good? I really don't know. Really? Well, I hope just the general public. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's their money. And
anyone who's involved in community sport or low-level sport, like I'm not writing it for them, but I want to say that they are important and like this money it's huge. So like providing a framework so they can see like that their community is like worth being saved.
For sure.
Their clubs are worth being saved.
For sure.
Or if they haven't been saved or if they've been like insolvent, like why?
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because I think it takes away from, well, the one problem I had with research was that the only people reading my stuff were other researchers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're already smart enough as it is. Like this is what we do day in, day out.
Right.
But the people who this impacts the most have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's almost a really cool way of doing it.
Yeah. Well, I hope it targets the right people and I hope it becomes interesting to people because, yeah, like when I explained it to my mum even, she didn't know what it was. She didn't really care. She's not a sports person. But she's like, oh, that's actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because
it's not a sport thing. Like it's not exclusively a sport problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everyone else is affected.
It's a nationwide thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's that can be driven by you as the researcher. Like your forms of dissemination it's quite important as well.
Yeah.
How you want to get stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's half the reason I started a podcast.
Right.
Because I have so many smart friends. But like we never talk about this stuff and not many people get to hear about what we do every day.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just want to be like a quiet mouse. I'm that type of person where I'll voice it if I want to voice it because I'm proud of what I'm doing.
That's cool.
But then, like I said, it's so sensitive. I don't want to say the wrong thing and then get a boot up the bum.
Yeah.
So I'll just sit in my lane for now. And then once it's underway, I'll be loud and proud.
Good on you. Yeah, I think once you get some sort of like substantiating stuff behind you and you can you're sitting on some really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. And now just back to your like ethics and who you are as a person. Is this work that you're doing and is the lifestyle that you're living, does it continue to make you happy? And are you actually proud of it?
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
I think in terms of how happy it's made me, it's like I said before, it's not an area I ever thought I was interested in. And because it's like clicked in the back of my head, I'm like, whoa, no, this is it. Because like I said, it's the underlying stuff that has made me physical as a person. I'm providing that underlying like basis for me, like, hey, Tammy, you're physical because you're allowed to do it in this way and then in this shape or form. But I forgot where we went.
Happy and proud?
Happy and proud, always. Always.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm happy in terms of because I'm genuinely challenging myself. Yeah.
What do you think is the most challenging aspect? Do you think it's more the lifestyle or do you think it's more the actual area of research?
I think it's just the actual area of research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't mind having to like that all your life is dedicated to answering this one question?
No.
Right now?
Because it's like it's novel. It's so new. I mean, COVID has mucked everyone over.
Yeah, right.
So because it's sport, I love sport. I want to see how affected it was, and how they're providing that basis of sport to everyone post COVID, because everyone had that fitness spark in COVID for some reason. It was like, I'm going to go out and jog and go to the gym or whatever. So like now it's like, now that we're back and everyone's kind of on their feet, I want to see if the money is like used for the right reasons to keep the country active.
Yeah, and maybe just to like get people back on track. So just I think we were talking about public and we're talking about people, because there's going to be a lot of people who don't play sport at all. But like, what are the main areas that this kind of effect like has an impact on those people as well? Besides it being taxpayer, so like that's the first one. But like when we talk about sport, are we talking? It's a lot more general, right?
Yeah.
Than people who are enrolled in a formal sport.
No, it's more. It's even just providing like a space to be active and play. They call it recreation and play.
Yeah.
So it's not like paying a membership fee to go and play sport.
Yeah.
It's just going out, setting up a bunch of cones and go and run around, because some kids can't even do that.
Yeah.
So looking at those small funds or grants that's allowing programs to be run like that will be awesome to see.
Yeah.
Spark up.
Have you ever thought about yourself like running those? Well, could you kind of do? Like, I don't think we give enough I don't think I'm going to give enough attention to dance as like one of the most intense styles of sports.
It really is.
Like in terms of if we're talking about energy expenditure, like
do you know I put a presentation in high school that dancing should be in the Olympics? I was that like.
You were that?
I was like, this is ridiculous.
What were your main points?
I was like, why is it not in the Olympics?
Right.
Because I mean, like you said, the amount of energy you exert, it's tough. You're an athlete if you're a dancer.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't remember my main points. I think I was like 15 years old. I was confident. Back then I wanted to be like in the royal family, like or backup dancer for like Rihanna or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, for me it's just it's beautiful. I love like in comparison to any other sport.
And what made you want to, so we're just on dance now, what made you actually want to, so this is something that I'm quite interested in, is when people are willing to take the step out to actually start helping other people with something that they love.
Yeah.
Because like it's easy to just continue being that one who shows up, gets told what to do, gets better on your own, and then just like goes back into life without having to take ownership of the class. Because, I mean, coaching is hard. Like it's a lot of work. You not only have to be really, really good at your craft, but you also have to be good at dealing with people. Communicating
and being good with people.
So what made you like, let's just do it?
I think I've been involved for dance for so long. I was dancing ever since I was like 5. Mum put me in dance, and I did gymnastics as well, so it sort of went hand in hand. And I think because I had that upbringing with dance, I had really good coaches and they're good communicators. And because if you're a good communicator in dance, for me personally, it makes dance so much easier and so much more fun. Yeah. So then when I came into ODA, because it's a university club, like I said before, not many people had the dancer background. Yeah. So when I would take some classes, like some of them couldn't like count to 8 or like describe the move perfectly of how to say, no, left arm here, right arm here. So I think I wanted to provide that as well because I knew how to communicate dance moves well because I was so passionately involved with it. Just the communication aspect of it as well. I was like, you should step up to the plate. For sure. And provide that. Yeah. Yeah. It just gives you an opportunity to share your passion with other people. Yeah. 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 Because there's a lot of people who I think get burnt by something because they weren't taught well. Yeah. And like they would have loved it, but they would just never really had the right mentorship to be able to get them to where they are. Yeah. So like, do you have any stories of people that have come into your classes where you're just like, they probably were quite down on themselves and they didn't think this was something they could ever get good at, but they feel like now they actually have the efficacy to just keep showing up to class even? Or do you take quite high advanced people? I usually take the higher end of people. Sure, right. But I think in terms of the genre I teach maybe. So hip-hop, there's so many genres to teach, but because of my ethnicity, dancehall, Afro is my strong suit. Yeah. That is where I love to like thrive in. That's where I thrive in. And I think in terms of challenging them with that style of dance, people kind of struggle with that. But again, like I said before, I will provide the basic move. Yeah. But dancehall is all about expression. And you just pop it if you feel like it. You just pop it if you feel it. You can do the legs and move the upper body however you feel. Yeah. But I think, reggaeton dancehall is so it's an expressive dance form, whereas like same with like crump or like voguing or whacking. But most set hip hop moves are like it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah. Don't do anything else. Yeah. But dancehall it's beautiful. You just you just feel it out. You feel it out. Yeah, that was always my thing. I used to tell my friends because like I'd go out sober all the time, but it was just to listen to music. Yeah. And like there would be times where a song would come on, and I'd just close my eyes and I'd just like go. Almost like my body would tense up and I'd squeeze and I'd just be like, "This is so good." Oh my god! Like, I can't control myself. Are you an emotional person with music? I'm just emotional in general, but yes, as well with music. Because that's me. Yeah, I'm an emotional person with music. Yeah. Like. I could cry some days. Just listening to a good song? Music, yeah. Yeah. But I'm not I'll listen to music that, just talks to me. So it's, again, bringing it back to, like, my ethnicity. If it's an African dancehall, Afrobeat, reggaeton, that stuff gets me hard. Yeah. Like, in the core. Like, it hurts. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then, like, you I think you see it when, like, good dancers are those people who
are feeling as they're moving, rather than being like, oh, that's not the step.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, I'm not in the right place.
You can see the concentration in their eyes. Yeah.
They're thinking about where their arm's going instead of feeling like, oh, that feels right.
That feels good, yeah. And that's how I like to teach. I'm like, if there's the one person in class who likes to ask 1,000 questions because they want to get the move right, I just sort of like stop them, like, hey, just feel it out. I'll give you the move, but fill it in however you want. Because I don't like strict teaching. Yeah, if that makes sense.
But at the same time, everyone moves different anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. No one can move the same way.
Yeah. So like, if you're the teacher, you got the shortest legs of all time, but you've got super long arms. It's like, all right, so we're gonna, and then you're just like,
my arm can't reach.
Yeah. So like, you gotta take. There's just so many different things, and I think individual variance as well is probably something that we need to be a little bit more aware of anyway. Yeah. Because that's when people start thinking they're not good enough because they're like, I can't do what they did. But it's like, you'll never be able to do what they did because we're all individuals.
Yeah. And I think that's challenging in terms of that aspect because now I'm with, I'm the hip hop manager for the performance troupe. Yeah. For Dunners. So the hip hop moves, the choreo that I teach in terms of competition or performances, everyone has to look the exact
like
same.
very in sync, eh?
You have to look in sync. Yeah. So, but I think that's a challenge for me as well in terms of making sure that everyone is yet again comfortable with the move. They can feel freely to move in it and they're not struggling. Yeah. Because it has to look effortless at the end of the day and not like everyone's dying in the back of their eyes. Yeah.
Do you have to come up with the music and like put the mixes together?
Yeah, so that's where I'm biased too because I'll only put music in it. But I think I'm good. Taste of music, so
I wonder if it's still the same. Like back in the day, so I used to like hang out with a bunch of dancers all the time.
Fun.
And they I would always go watch them in competition, and they do like regionals, nationals, and all that sort of stuff. And it was kind of like in their bracket, it would always be like they have to do this style, this style, this style, this style, this style. And I just remember I'd always like get to the crump, and then as soon as it got to crump, like everyone just lost the plot, and I was like, oh, that's what I came for.
Crump's like the most, not harshly criticised, but like in terms of judging, they love it because the judges think because it's such a hard style of dance, and if everyone can perform it effortlessly, you'll get major points for it. It's same with old school breakdancing. Like if you put, it's literally like there's a system to it. If you put the hardest style of dance at the end of your routine. And you perform it effortlessly, that means you're an amazing troupe. Because I mean, if you're doing 2.5 minutes of dancing full out, and then all of a sudden you have a 30,
like the hardcore
stuff right at the end, because you're tired at the end. Yeah. So if you're out here doing backflips and like break dancing, and everyone looks flawless, you're gonna get 10s across the board. Yeah.
Nice. Did you compete yourself?
I used to. I've only competed. In terms of hip hop, I only competed 2 years of my life, and that was with my Whakatane squad, my crew back then. But I mean, for good old small Whakatane, we had nothing going for us, but it was there for the experience. Yeah. I mean, I was sharing the stage with Royal Family, Identity Dance Crew freshmen, the big leagues up in Auckland or whatever, Wellington. But it was a privilege to share the stage with them. Yeah. And I got to learn and watch them and see how they work. Yeah. Saw Paris, you know. Yeah. Cried maybe. But yeah, I competed. It's the most amazing feeling, and I'm going to compete again in July.
Oh, so you get to compete as well?
I'll put my name down.
With them? Are you in that group? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I want to do a last hurrah kind of thing. Yeah, so I was like, just push yourself to do it.
Right, and then this is just a silly question as well, because we were talking about, that was like really cool, and then I'm just going to ruin it now, but how many pairs of shoes did you have to buy for dance?
A lot.
Because like, so like the boys that I was hanging out with, they pretty much every time they had to perform, they all had to wear the same clothes. And they'd like have so many different pairs of shoes, because they're like, all right, it's black on white Adidas today, boys. And then it's just like, and I was like, wow, do you guys have the money for this?
Well, in terms of ODA, we don't have
Sure. Yeah.
We're not balling with money. Yeah. But there's a base, like there are basics that we have to provide for ourselves. But I literally went out of my way last week to buy a pair of Doc Martens just for the performance.
You're going to dance in Docs?
Yep.
Doesn't that add like 42 kilograms to your feet?
My feet are like this big.
Oh, okay.
So it's not that bad. But in terms of personally, I've gone through a lot of shoes because when you compete, everyone has to wear the same style, same look, same colour. So I've gone through a lot, and they're all in the bin now because they're absolutely ruined. But we want to go with the combat boot looking vibe for this comp. So catch me in docks. Apparently.
Have you been starting to wear them in?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're getting there.
And they big though. They honestly straight up big.
Mine are puny.
Your legs are gonna get huge from carrying that extra weight.
Tough. They'll be tough. That's all good.
Yeah. So that's. Yeah, I guess that's the good thing about having that is that because my only thing right now is like, how are you going to make sure that because you're getting to like the business end of both things. You're getting to the business end of your masters, and then you're getting to the business end of like your dance, which is something that you love. But when you get too competitive, it's like that's when it starts to take over your life a little bit.
Yeah.
How are you gonna make sure that by the end of it, you're like, I still love this.
I still love it.
Do you think it's just one of those things you'll still love it, or have you got stuff in place?
I think I naturally will just keep in love with it, because I only got into hip hop again last year, fully, in terms of outside of school. So, last year, my little sister, hi Talia,
hey,
she hit me up and she was like, so we have our end of year performance for our dance school. Do you want to do a set with me? And I was just like, yes, please. And just watching her, because I'll just go on a spiel. Because she's my little baby sister, she's going through life how I did. Yeah. So from like primary, she went to the same primary as me. Yeah. Now she's literally turning 14. I could cry about it, but let's not. She went to the same high school as me. She's being with the same teachers I was with. And like she's with the same dance school I was with under the same coach. So she's just going through life how I was, and it's emotional to see, which is really cute. And then now seeing how passionate she is with dance, how I was back then, I want her to keep at it. So when she came to me asking for a set, I was like, yep, let's do it. So but then I stopped first year of uni because I was just too I couldn't handle it. Yeah. And then once I got into my final year of my undergrad, I was like, Tammy, you need something else other than study. So I got back into ODA. I got into dance, and then because I think it's so fresh, I'm not going to get sick of it. And it's always been a love of mine. I just never had the time. Yeah. I just genuinely never had the time to find something other than being behind a laptop or behind a book.
And I mean, it might burn you out for a little bit, but like you just take a week off or so, and you're just like, all right, and we're back at it. And because it's at the end of the day, I think it's where I express myself. Yeah. It's not going to be an issue because, like I said, I'm emotionally attached to music and to dance. So even if I'm just sitting behind a laptop and watching dance, I'm happy in that space too. On YouTube. Watching other people choreograph and stuff. Do you dance by yourself?
Yeah.
Like, if you need to, because I told you earlier, I like had Trent on, and Trent is a crumper, and he basically just used to say like sometimes to get mad, happy, like all of his different emotions, if you wanted to like prolong that feeling, he would just crump.
Beautiful.
And then it would just like hold on to it. So I was like wondering, I was like, I wonder if all dancers are like that.
I do it when I'm happy or when I just find a song and I'm like, wow, it speaks to me. So I'm like, I stop what I'm doing immediately. Literally, I stop what I'm doing immediately. Yeah. And I think of stuff. It goes in my head. Yeah. But then again, I do it not to teach. I do it for myself.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But then I'm like, wow, if I get the opportunity to teach, I'm like, this is what I want to share. Right. So I'll share it to the world. Whatever.
And do you ever get into, so this is something that, so before we get into our final question, I don't know why this one popped into my head, but I remember I used to always have like warm-ups in my head to coach, and then when I would get into there, I'd always forget what the warm-up was, and I'd just teach something completely different, and I'd just be like, oh, that kind of works.
That kind of works.
But like, or do you go in with a very set, like, this is what we're doing?
In terms of choreo?
Yeah. Or do you just like sometimes like, oh, that works better?
Actually, yeah. That happened last week. I had like a good solid 20 seconds of choreo in my head and I busted it out. And then, like how I said before, people move differently. And I was like, it doesn't look so right. So then I'll come up with 3 different versions, and then I choose the one that looks nicest, cleanest, or that puts a smile on their face. Sure. Or that puts a smile on my face, and I'm like, do that one. Yeah.
And do you ever get frustrated with yourself when you're dancing?
Yep.
Or, you do?
If I don't pick up choreography, like if I'm in someone else's class and I don't pick up choreography, that's amazing, like amazing choreography that looks fun to do and I know that will be fun, I get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because naturally in life, I'm a slow learner.
Right.
So I need a lot of repetition when it comes to dance. Yeah. But when again, if it's a genre that's out of my comfort zone per se, then I get frustrated because I want to get it, but I know I can't. So I need that extra hand to like repeat and repeat. I'm the annoying one if it's I'm like, can you do it again? Can you do it again?
Right.
Stop. Can you do it again?
Yeah.
So that's when I get frustrated.
But at least you're willing to say. Like some people just keep going. They're like, yeah, I got it. And they're just like,
no, but then you don't enjoy it.
Exactly. Because you're just always a step behind. But you don't want to you don't want people to know that you're the one not getting it.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't get that.
Cool.
I used to be like that though, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't be that person, Tammy, just shh.
I'm still that person. If I was like, are you guys all good? I'm like, yeah.
I'm fine. Okay.
And then I just like go
when
ask
really
my
you're dying inside.
Yeah, I just go ask my friend, like, did you get that? And he's just like, nah. And you're like, oh, sweet.
That used to be me.
Yeah.
But I think I've gotten out of that. I think I smacked myself over the head. I was like, no, snap.
Yeah, I think,
out of it.
no, you do need to be like that, especially if you're going to go into postgrad. Like, because so many different people are going to act like they know.
Yeah.
And no one ever wants to show that they kind of don't know. So
I guess in terms of research, I'm a bit quiet.
Oh, right.
But other aspects of life, I'll be like, excuse me,
Yeah,
that was wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, my supervisor said, Tammy, you're quite humble when you come into my office. And when we have our meetings, please stay like that.
Yeah.
Because again, this is a new field for me.
Yeah.
New area of research for me. New area of life that I didn't even knew existed. Sport politics did not click in my head until last year. Or the year before. So I think in terms of that, I like to keep reserved and be the listener in the room.
Yeah.
And not be the loud mouth.
Yeah.
And take advice and then build on that, and then again ask more questions, and then more advice, ask more questions. Because in terms of that, I love to learn more.
Yeah, it's weird. Like you come in when you start. So like at your level now, most people come in thinking that they know everything, and then you start learning something, and then you realize. I think there's this realization that people have where they're just like, I've learned a little bit, and now I know I don't know a lot. Yeah, and there's so much more I'm going to learn. But then some people get scared of that. And some people are just like, yes, that's my life now. Yeah. I love that.
And I think it is, it still is a bit overwhelming because there's still so much of this area of work that I'm so unfamiliar with. But I'm willing to take it on the chin and roll with the punches and learn. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, this is that area of life that I've chosen to research and I'm thoroughly happy about it.
That's cool.
But like, I know, like in terms of like the biophysical side of stuff of like sport, for me, I think it's like, it is what it is. Yeah. Right? Yeah. There's nothing else outside of it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nah, there's probably not going to be too much else.
But in terms of politics and like sociology, it's forever changing. So that's what I like about it. That's why there's so many questions and concepts that are always just popping up. Because when I'm reading in the literature review, there's one concept where I'm like, wow, and that leads to another one. Yeah. It just keeps going and going. And I'm like, where do I stop? And he's like, no, that's how it should be. Yeah. Don't ever block yourself off. Yeah. And like this little parameter or this little like square. Yeah. Because politics is like that. Yeah. It goes. Yeah. So follow it. Yeah.
You see how we just went full circle though? We're talking about having set parameters and all that, and not like staying in the middle, but also like doing all the stuff that's still making you happy. Yeah. I think that's your overall thing. Is this you're always trying to find like what fits within these where I'm not boxing myself so that I can still learn different things that I want to, but that I'm still doing for myself. So that I can stay happy.
100%.
Because you're that free spirit.
I tried to be.
Well, I think you are.
And that's how I want to live life. I'm like, why do I want to live every day genuinely just being unhappy? I don't want to work in a 9-to-5 job that I'm like, ugh, it's work. It's work. Because my mum loves her job. And she's like, Tammy, I could retire at like 100. Yeah. You know, I want to live like that. She's such a prime example for me. So I want to be like her.
That's cool. That's cool. And that's a nice place to leave us before we go into the final question that I ask every single person. So hopefully if someone hasn't got a takeaway from now, they'll have a takeaway in this point. But what is something that you do every day or close to every day that makes you feel like you've optimized the day?
when I literally go to bed like smiling.
Yeah?
Yep. It's not happening recently,
but
it'll come back around. No, I think this week has just been a stressful week and it's only Wednesday.
Right.
But when I feel refreshed, when I feel like I'm learning every day, I don't want to like come home with like, say if I'm doing my research or if I'm doing dancing, I don't want to come home being at the same spot I was yesterday.
Right.
If I end the day being with like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start at this,
right,
and then I can carry on from here. Otherwise, because I feel why I'm saying that I'm like not feeling it this week is because I'm still at the same place that I was on Monday.
Right.
So tomorrow, my goal is to like, no, you'll start from where you are now, carry on, and find that new end. I call it my new end, and then build on that new end. I haven't gotten there yet, but we will.
You will?
Yep.
I know right now you're like looking at it and you're like nothing's happened, but sometimes there's like, it seems like a plateau.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing is you're building up like the foundation in your head, and then you actually like make a huge exponential jump from like the Wednesday to the Thursday.
Yeah.
But that's your new end, and you'll build off that, and then you keep going and going and going.
Exactly.
1% every time. That's so cool.
1 step at a time.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
You mad anymore? So you could keep going for another hour, right?
I could. I could yarn for days.
Yeah. No, but we're good, and it's it's been a really, really insightful chat, and I thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I think there were so many different directions we could have gone in, and I think we are definitely looking at a part 2 when you've actually finished at the other end, so we can actually hear like, was it worth being as scared as you were? Like, did you find what we thought you were going to find?
Yeah.
But I think a huge thing as part of this, I think it's the key things that I took away from this, and the main things was that we are always we should probably be trying to fill our time with things that we decide we want to do.
100%.
And the reason I say that is because that's what I'm trying to do for myself, because there's a lot of times where I'm just like not happy, and the reason I'm not happy is because there's no me. It's all just like I'm saying yes to a bunch of what everyone else wants me to do.
Yeah.
And the second one is that we just have a natural mind for inquiry, and sometimes we should just let it wander.
Let it go.
Let it do its thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time.
Oh, bless.
And I hope you enjoyed it.
I honestly loved it. Every second. Good yarn.
Good.
Good yarn.
Alrighty.